online that you moved to Preston 10 years ago. What was it that brought you to Preston?
I really didn't know an awful lot about Preston before then. I was living out in the countryside, about 5 or 6 miles from here. But I knew somebody that was doing a small development here, so that's how I ended up. It was by chance, really, rather than design. So yeah, I've lived in Manchester, the North East, South Wales, Bristol, and I do predominantly work a lot in London as well. I'm based in Penwood.
And what was your career before you became involved in politics?
My career, very varied. I did a technical apprenticeship in the Forces, Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, and then from there I went on to go into financial services for 5 years. That was in Manchester, and then I've been involved in construction since I was about 28. I've also done some renovation. I've done about 38 properties of my own, with my own hands, I might add. And now I'm involved in architectural reclamation and insulation.
You said in a question that took place here that you hadn't voted for 2010.
Correct.
Why do you think that you were so disillusioned by politics?
Because unlike other advanced Western countries like Scandinavia, Germany, etc., we don't have the diversity in politics that they do. And that's why I think that this election is so important, because we actually have the opportunity to vote for a far more diversified number of political parties, and I think that's why young people will get involved this time.
So what was it inspired you to get involved with politics, particularly UKIP?
Nick Clegg, actually. Nick Clegg probably has done myself and UKIP, directly and indirectly, some great favours, because he's gone back on every major promise that he made in 2010. He got 600,000 students to vote for him, and he's now spurned a generation that will never forget what he's done. I voted for abolition of tuition fees, which all the main leaders of the current parties have all benefited from. They've never paid for university education, so they're being hypocrites expecting students to pay for them now. And electoral reform. The major parties don't want it because it preserves the status quo.
And how was the process of becoming the candidate for Preston?
A lot more rigorous, a lot more detailed than I thought. It's quite challenging. You've got to go through quite a rigorous process, which is good, I think. But as I'd been chairman of the local party before, I was familiar with the policies, and I've also stood in the local council election, so I came through it very well.
And how have you found the attention from the local media? Do you think it's been generally positive or a bit of a mix?
Well, the local media don't print any of our stories, unfortunately. Despite constant reassurances from their editors, we send them local issues that are relevant. They've asked for local issues that are relevant and pertinent, and they don't. So the process has taught me that we don't live in a free media society, as I was led to believe, rather naively.
Moving on to more questions relevant to the election. So, if elected, UKIP plans to abolish tuition fees for those studying maths, sciences, technologies and engineering.
STEM subjects, yes.
But what does that mean for the other students? Will prices remain the same, or?
Well, in an ideal world, I think we'd like to abolish tuition fees for every subject, but the reality is, because of the state of the economy, we can't spread it out to every single subject, unfortunately. So what UKIP's doing is we're promoting the subjects that we're in most desperate need of as a country, and those are the subjects that we've mentioned. Incidentally, just to qualify that, we will pay those tuition fees, or there will be an abolition of tuition fees on the understanding that the students, when they qualify, work in the UK for 5 years. That's the policy. So you're getting free tuition, but you've got to give something back to society.
Will the NHS still be funding courses such as medicine, nursing, midwifery, those kind of courses as stands today?
Yeah, we want more investment really in tuition because at the moment there is an awful lot of foreign labour in the NHS because simply we cannot provide the people to the NHS that we need desperately, and we feel that the EU movement of labour is giving them an unfair advantage on people from the rest of the world to join the NHS, from Africa, from the Commonwealth, from other countries. So it should be a level playing field for everybody wanting to contribute to the UK.
UKIP are saying that they would like to make, obviously, when take out of being part of the European Union, that would mean that EU students would pay the full whack of international fees as do students from outside the European Union.
Correct.
Given that in this current climate where universities are having to fight for their students, do you think this will hamper universities at all and lose potential students?
No, not at all. I think Preston's a case in point. Preston has the highest number of Chinese students in the United Kingdom. I think if you ask them, do they think it's fair that they should pay student fees and people from the EU not? I think it should be equal for everybody outside of the UK. So I think it should be an equal playing field for everybody.
What do you feel that you could give Preston on a personal level?
I would live and work in Preston, as I have done for the last 9 years. I do work in London 2 days a week. I see absolutely no problem at all in commuting. You can be in Euston in 2 hours and 15 minutes on the Pendolino. I will continue to work in the constituency. I would also encourage that every ward has an open surgery once a month, either myself or my colleagues. I want to connect more with the community at large. As I go around the streets, apart from a few isolated cases, the feedback on the local MP seems to be a complete lack of communication.
Given that Preston is made up of large numbers of immigrants, what would you say to them in terms of why they should vote for you?
I would say if you are in the UK, you're paying British taxes, you're contributing to society, then we welcome you with open arms. There's a myth, I think that's gradually been eroded by the number of Sikh and Muslim councillors that we're getting, more than the Greens for instance, is that we are against any form of immigration. That's not true. It's just controlled quality migration from the EU countries, which at the moment is non-existent. In the last 12 months, net migration has been 298,000. In the 1990s, it was about 40 to 50,000. We as a small country cannot sustain those kind of numbers. Thank you.